doing good. I am so excited that you are going to be with us today on Manifest 31, just to talk about mental health change and specifically Black men and mental health too. So I am going to introduce you, and then I want you to kind of introduce yourself to the people. But this is Miss Andrea Cole from the Flinn Foundation. Super, super excited. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I am the CEO of the Flinn Foundation. We're based in Detroit, and our focus is on mental health. So we're really just trying to make sure that everyone has the support that they need, so that they have access to mental health services, to counseling. We're also working on just really raising awareness about mental health so that we're comfortable talking about it. It's very common and it's very treatable. So just understanding what mental health is, that it's okay to talk about it, that we're encouraging people to seek support when they need it. And
Awesome.
I'm happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
No, I'm elated. I'm elated. So I want to jump right in. I kind of a question that I ask everyone is
Mhm.
um manifest. What does manifest mean to you? And what are you trying to manifest in one word in this current season?
Wow. So manifest to me, just simply put, means to make happen. So
Mhm.
to turn something into reality. Um, so I think the one sort of word that comes to mind for the season that we're in now is resilience.
That's
And
good.
and I say that to mean that, we're going through some very difficult times, but all of us at some point in our life, and right now we're just experiencing this collectively as a country,
Hmm.
but we've all gone through some very painful experiences. We go through some very difficult things, but in some ways, we are able to weather those storms and get through it. I mean, some of us get through it in healthier ways than others, but we manage to get through it, and sometimes we even come out a little bit stronger because we learn some life lessons. We learn in some ways what really matters. So I think even though this is a very trying time for all of us, that we as a people are much more resilient than we know. So I would hope that we come out of this stronger, have a sense of purpose, say, okay, I know what's important to me, and this is how I'm going to move forward and manifest the things that I need to do in my life.
I think that's powerful. Resilience. Um, and one thing that you said that stood out to me was be able to go through. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we try to go around, we try to
Yep,
avoid, we try to ignore, but true resilience comes from actually going through and
absolutely.
growing through. And sometimes that can be very scary, especially in with so many changes and so many
Mm-hmm.
different things. So how would you encourage someone who's trying to reach resilience and trying to go through that just feel as though that the weight of the world is on
Yeah.
them right now?
So here's the thing: change is a part of life, right?
Hmm.
Is to be expected. There's no way around it. The life is moving. We're moving ahead. Change is just a part of our lives. But for now, it's just even more difficult because we're all going through change. But when it's unexpected and it's sudden, like the pandemic, it can be overwhelming. I mean, the reality is that, especially as Black people,
Hmm.
we're losing our loved ones, and sometimes they're in situations where they're passing alone because we're in the middle of a pandemic and we can't see them.
Hmm.
And just a personal story: my sister-in-law passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and we had to make the very difficult choice. We couldn't attend the funeral. I mean, so we're going through a situation where we're losing our loved ones. We may not even be able to honor them at the funeral. We're losing our jobs. A lot of us have essential jobs, and So we have to risk our health every day by going to work. We have to worry about whether we're going to, uh, pass the virus to our family members. We've got to worry about, we're isolated from our families, we're
Mhm.
isolated from our friends, our kids are out of school. So there's just a lot of change all at once. And that is very, very difficult to manage for anyone. So for me, I just think that when we think about change, we have to just kind of focus on the things that are in our control. There's a lot of things going on in the world that really aren't in our control
Mhm.
and can just be overwhelming. So if we just step back and say, these are the things that I can do, these are the things that I can control. We don't want to what if ourselves to just into complete panic and stress because we just don't know when this is going to end. We don't know what the future holds. So there's just a lot going on. So just really taking it step by step, day by day, and just kind of looking at what are the things that I can control, what are the things that I can do as I go through this process. So I think just kind of taking it one step at a time is how we can get through the change and
Mhm.
and figure things out as we go along. And the other thing I would say is because we are in such chaotic and uncertain times, we have to we just have to take a few minutes to just relax and decompress and just kind of turn off the world a little bit. So whether it's, if you want to take a 5 minute walk every day or listen to the music that you like. I go on a bike ride every day. I mean, it gives me a little bit of peace for about 30 minutes so I can
Uh-huh.
regroup and just not get overwhelmed because it is a challenging time. So I don't think we should lie about that. And a lot of us are going through multiple difficult situations all at once. So
I want to
I,
follow up with that because I
go
think
ahead.
you said some key points that I want our listeners and our viewers to pick up on.
Mm-hmm,
One of them is to know that you can't be in control of everything,
mm-hmm,
and being able to take a step back and know how to prioritize and know what's important or what you can change or what is changing. And
mm-hmm.
sometimes we move so rapidly because life is just happening. We never take that time to take that step back, to look at what's in front of us. And another thing that you said was to take a break.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's hard, I will admit, for me, it's times where I be like, I just can't. Like, I got to do this. I got this. I have so much on my list to accomplish. But I've realized in the last few months that social media break,
yeah,
that spending, saying setting time apart, like with me and my son, he's in virtual school now. I'm in school and doing different things, but we set an hour of time, at least in our day, where we say we're not going to touch the phone. We're going to spend time with each other. And I realized that has even been a mental break for him as well.
you have to do that because if, and especially with social media
Hmm.
and the television, there's just so much information, and we're getting to a point where we don't even decipher what's fact and what's not. I mean, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's real. So there's a lot of, panicking and a lot of misinformation. And it can be just overwhelming. You have to tune out. You've got to figure out, how can I relax? How can I do self meditation? So and we're sheltered in home. We can't our life as we know it. We can't go visit our family like we want to. We can't hang out like we want to. We can't go on vacation or visit family. So we've just got to find some things to do that give us um, a sense of relief
Hmm.
and kind of reset our mind. And I mean, even if I just listen to my music for about 30 minutes and go for a drive, I mean, I literally don't go anywhere. I just pick an exit, put my music on, and I go and I come back. I mean, that does wonders just to get
Hmm.
out of the house or to go for a walk. But I think we've got to learn to take care of ourselves. So through any change, just keep in mind, how can I manage this? What can I do for myself to get through this as best I can. So just kind of
Mhm.
focus on you, focus on what you can do to stay strong and centered and relax and just go from there. Take it, we don't have all the answers. Just take it one day at a time if you can.
It's something. So my mom gave me this like little notebook for each day that has like some type of
Mm-hmm.
inspirational message, and something that you said about like going on that exit or taking it one day at a time. The message today says serenity allows you to enjoy the scenery when you're on a
Mm-hmm.
detour.
Yeah,
And sometimes we have this plan that we want to move forward with, and it gets changed just abruptly, right? But a lot of times, if you actually start to pay attention to what's around you in that midst of that change, you start to notice the blessings and the gifts that are
exactly.
coming out of that change and out of that
Exactly.
season. Because I know for some people, a lot of people in the pandemic has been able to create businesses or been able to restructure or find that important time with family. And in the midst of that, sometimes people think with mental health that it has to always be something that's tied to something negative or you have to be,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's not. To have mental health is to pay attention to what your body and your mind needs. And that's
and
so important.
and the key word there is health, and I like to think of it as wellness.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that we're keeping our body and our mind well, and they're very much connected. So addressing your mental health is something that we all should be doing because
Hmm.
life in general is overwhelming. There's we're in the middle of a pandemic, we're in the middle of all of this unrest
Hmm.
and police brutality. So it can you can really get to a point where you're stuck in that, and so you just have to be mindful of it's okay for me to focus on my mental health or my physical health. So it's eating as well, right? It's exercising, all of these type of things that make me just feel better,
Hmm.
and we shouldn't feel guilty about that. The one thing I would say is mental health is just like physical health. It's health. It's your body as a whole. So I think if we just change our mindset into understanding that I
It's
want to,
daily.
yeah, and I want to be whole as a person. I want to be
Hmm.
healthy. So I can't ignore my mental health and be healthy. So they're very much connected. And I just think that we need to change our mindset about that. And the reality is, 1 in 4 of us will have a mental health condition at some point in our life. It is very common. It is not isolated. It's either we're going to go through something, a friend, a family member, and it also is can be managed,
Hmm. And
just
I
like
think
any
not
other health
taking that
condition.
label and not thinking because you might have a mental illness or a disorder or have some things happen to you does not mean that's what you're labeled. That does not define who you are as a person. And I think that's breaking the stigma too. And I think that's why a lot of people are afraid to go to counseling or therapy because they don't want to. They feel like they will be labeled, and that's not what it
Absolutely,
is.
it's not. But I mean, um, in fairness, it is labeled.
Okay.
We have feelings about it because in some ways, it has been treated systemically, it has been treated differently. So,
Hmm.
just in terms of the healthcare delivery system, one of the things that we're working on is that when you go to a doctor, the doctor should be addressing you as a whole person. So, when you're
Hmm.
going to your primary care doctor, they're now asking you, are you getting sleep? Are you irritated? Are you having um, trouble, you don't want to socialize. So when we go to a doctor, they're looking at all of our needs. So that's changing the perception of mental health and just saying, hey, you're coming in for a checkup. And we're not kind of separating the two as different things as part of your health care. I think that'll go a long way in how we treat it on the medical side.
Hmm.
And then you know, if I'm not feeling well, if I have the flu, if I have a broken arm, if I have, diabetes, whatever that physical health condition is, we don't label ourselves by that.
Right.
We just have something, and we have an illness, and we take care of it. And we should think about that the same for mental health.
Mhm. And I definitely agree. And I think taking the difference from dealing with it
Hmm. Right.
to
And
healing.
addressing it. So the
Hmm.
thing on the medical side is addressing it as a medical condition. That's part of it. And so if we're moving to the point where it is recognized as a medical issue, then we're treating it as such, then we're normalizing,
Hmm.
we're normalizing healthcare. So, and I'd like to manifest that for everyone. That
Okay.
it's just part of our routine healthcare. We talk about it in any way. We talk about physical health and we deal with it.
No, I totally agree. And I think as we have seen in the last few years, there has been more and more done in the mental health space. And that is something super, super exciting just to see more
Mhm.
people involved, seeing more people share their story, share their testimonies, and just the overall growth of just bringing that awareness to our communities. I want to kind of shift, if it's okay,
Mhm.
to the billboard. So the reason why I really wanted to reach out, because I've been like going down freeways in the Metro Detroit area, and I've been seeing billboards of Black men
Yes.
with reachusdetroit.org, and I'm like, what is that? I like, and I'm like, I need to find that out. I need to get some more information about it. Can you tell us a little bit about these billboards that we're seeing all across Detroit?
Absolutely. So one of the things that, as I stated earlier, we're a mental health foundation. And one of the things that's been very obvious is with COVID-19, all of our anxiety levels have been going up.
Hmm.
Where, like I said, I mentioned earlier, we're dealing with a lot of different things. And so mental health is very, at the forefront of concerns. And the other thing is, as a Black person, I know that we don't always talk about our mental health. There's a couple of issues going on. Stigma is a piece of it, in that we're not comfortable talking about it, especially Black men. And so, recognizing that there was probably already an issue with access
Hmm.
and people not necessarily reaching out for the support that they needed when they needed it. But there's also an issue with access that's very real. I mean, some of us can't get the therapeutic services that we need.
Correct.
Just recognizing that there was a need before the pandemic, and then the escalation of anxiety and depression and mental health conditions with the pandemic, we thought it was very important for us to provide a resource for Detroiters who are going through a lot. They have a lot on their weight on their shoulders, and we wanted to be able to offer real therapy and support to people when they needed it. And we wanted to make sure that everyone had access to these services in a way that they were comfortable with. So we actually got the idea from Taraji Henson in her effort to offer free therapy for African Americans going through COVID across the country. We
Hmm.
wanted to replicate that in Detroit. We reached out to DWIN, which is Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. That's the public behavioral health provider in Detroit. They're the
Hmm.
largest one in the state. And we said we'd like to put together a virtual platform so that people, during COVID, they wouldn't have to leave their house. They can text, especially for young people, they're probably more comfortable texting. They can go to the website. They can get therapeutic interventions over the phone. We just wanted to be able to reach people wherever they were.
Hmm.
And so a couple of foundations came together, and the Skillman Foundation was one of them, the Flinn Foundation, our foundation, the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, the Michigan Health Endowment Fund, and maybe that's it. I might have forgotten one. We all pulled our resources together to put together this free platform. So
Wow.
you can, anyone, whether you're 14 or older, can call in individually. If you're younger than that, you need to call in as a family.
Hmm.
So the services are available. We have trained, licensed clinical therapists that are trained in trauma. And you just call in, go to the website, and then they arrange whether you need some, softer supports or whether you need therapeutic intervention is available free, and you can get up to 12 sessions.
Wow.
And then we're, yeah, and might be even be up to 14. And we'll schedule them with the therapist and make sure that you're also connected with ongoing support. So getting back to the Black men, it was
I want
very
to
important.
let me. I want to touch base on that real quick, just
Go
to
ahead.
recap on that. So, Reach Us Detroit org, um, these different foundations were able to come together to provide free therapy.
Free,
So
free,
free,
no cost.
no cost at all, free therapy to Detroiters,
Correct.
and
With, and I want to add free
okay.
therapy that is with licensed, trained clinical therapists
Mm-hmm.
who have been trained in all type of trauma informed approaches. And so these are high level therapists that are
Awesome.
available.
So not only is it free, but they're able to have up to 12 sessions,
Correct.
and they can call, they can text.
They can call, they can text, they can do it over their smartphone, a computer, whatever means is most comfortable with to you,
Okay.
they will work with you. So whatever your preference is, if you know, if you got a smartphone and you want to do it that way, that's fine. Younger people like texting, but you know, whatever the two of you work
Mhm.
out.
That is amazing. And in addition to that, it you all also provide family. So
Yes,
family therapy. So that is free as well.
it's all free. Yes, it is. And we
Wow.
wanted to make it available to all Detroiters who have been hit particularly hard by COVID-19, and understanding that we're dealing with so much before the pandemic, and then we've
Hmm.
got to deal with all of the consequences of the pandemic. It is available, and we were very intentional, I think, about not doing too much promotion
Hmm.
up front because we wanted everyone to have a quality experience. So we wanted to be able to make sure that we kind of figured out some things, and we were able to build
Hmm.
a
Of course.
strong word of mouth, um, you know, build up, and things are going well, but it's free. And I want to get back to the Black men
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Go ahead.
because we were very intentional about that specific population
Hmm.
because Black men are less likely to get the help that they need. And a lot of that obviously is, you know, Black men are, you know, we're taught to be
Be strong.
strong, to be the head of the house, to deal with it. And that's just a lot of stress to carry. And you know, if you're working and you're concerned about losing your job, or you've lost your job, or you have an essential job and you've got to worry about coming home to your family,
Hmm.
and giving, you know, giving the virus to them, it's just a lot of weight for men to carry, and they really shouldn't have to carry that alone. And
I
so we were
agree.
very intentional about reaching out to them specifically. And as someone who lives in the house with three Black men, my husband and my two young adult sons, I think that it's important that Black men have a space where they feel safe
Hmm.
talking. So if there's something that is really a weight on their shoulders, or they're concerned about, they should have a person in their life, or we as wives, sisters, mothers should be that person that speaks to them, allows them to talk about what's going on, without judgment. They just need to understand that they can't hold all of that stress in because it'll manifest it in other ways. And
Hmm.
I really like the fact that there was a recent television special called Black Love, where the couples talked about how they openly supported each other when they were going through different mental health concerns. And I watch a show called Married at First Sight, and they have two amazing young Black men on there in their late 20s and
Hmm.
30s, and they have both openly talked about how they reached out for counseling when they needed it. One of the men on there, his father was in prison, and he had some anger issues, and he realized therapy helped him. And the other young man dealt with depression, and he got help. But I love the fact that they talk about it, they got the help that they needed, they're living full lives. We just need to get to a space that men feel comfortable talking to someone and reaching out when they need to.
I
That is
think
very important to me personally. That was very important.
no, I definitely agree, and I want to make sure that I get that information from you again, so we can provide those links
Mm-hmm.
on our website for people to be able to have a resource to see in reference to. But I think one of the things that you stated again, and I have to keep pulling because you're throwing all these nuggets, and I'm like, I'm
Oh,
trying to catch them all. I'm trying to catch them all, but they're amazing. Is that providing Black men the space
mm-hmm.
to feel as though they can be safe enough to have those conversations and not be judged, or those
Correct.
emotions won't be used against them,
Yes.
or to belittle them.
Yes. Because it's hard enough in general. Like you said, we're already a little reluctant to talk about mental health,
Hmm.
period, because of stigma. But then as a Black man, you're taught not to talk about emotions at all. So that's a lot to hold inside
Hmm.
and not be able to release. I mean, in any situation, if there's something bothering you, once you talk about it or you get help or you deal with it, you can resolve it.
You can heal from
You
it,
can heal.
okay?
You
You
can
can
heal and
heal.
you can resolve it. And so you have to have a space that
Hmm.
makes you comfortable reaching out, comfortable talking to people, and understanding that it's okay not to be okay. We're all struggling
You
with
throwing these
something.
nuggets again. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
try
it's
to remember.
okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
You don't have to be strong all
Hmm.
the time. We are humans.
And I
We're
and I
humans.
I even having a son, like I was speaking with you earlier, I have a son, he's 9 years old, and watching him grow is it's crazy the fact of that as much as we try to protect and kind of cover and shield our children, they are exposed to a lot too, just in
Yes.
society. So
Yes.
racism, discrimination, all
Oh
these
my God.
things, he's starting to see it at such a young age, and trying to break him not to be fearful and not to be afraid to be a strong, Black, educated young man, but to know that he has rights. He can express his emotions. He can be who he is without feeling as though he has to have this covering. And that's also scary even right now because he doesn't even feel as though he has that covering because so much is being shown. And as a parent and as teachers or whoever are in your children's life, trying to make sure that they feel as though they don't have to put this covering
Yeah.
and they can be their true self, because you don't want them to grow up and have to face or feel as though they can't be their true self, or they got to hide their emotions, or they have to be strong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, sometimes, and I'm not sure because I'm not a Black man, so I can't speak for Black men,
Mm-hmm.
but just speaking to some friends or close people that I know, sometimes they feel as though when you try to lean, that person steps back, or that thing
Mm-hmm.
that you was trying to lean on is not there, and you hit the ground and you have to climb even further and further up. And I think it's so important. I appreciate what your organization and the other foundations are doing to try to bring not only healing to our community, but a legacy that can continue for Black men.
Absolutely. So another, without getting into, a lot of detail to that point, we have to change, especially with you with a 9-year old, we do have to change the way we look at Black boys and
Hmm.
allow them to openly express their feelings. So we don't
Hmm.
suppress, don't cry. What do don't,
Hmm.
don't show any emotion. So understanding that, one of the other things that our foundation is doing is we're working directly with the Detroit public school system,
Oh,
the
awesome.
entire school district from K through 12,
Okay.
understanding, because it really helps with young kids, just really changing the perceptions and giving them coping skills. So building in mental wellness programming into our day-to-day lives at school, encouraging an environment where we're talking about mental health, giving kids resiliency and mindful coping skills so that they know, what are triggers, or okay, I'm mad about this. How do I deal with my anger? If we're working with kids at a much younger age,
Mhm.
then they have those skill sets to be able to communicate, and recognize difficult situations and emotions, and really how to get through them and recognize what they are. So I think, we're thinking about in the medical field too, but we're also working on changing the way we work with young people,
Mhm.
so that they know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be angry, but how do I channel that anger, or how do I resolve conflict? Giving us tools. I mean, it's really just giving us tools to be able to manage our lives. And I would like to say something on the racism,
Mhm.
because that's real. So,
Okay.
and it's difficult because I have two young sons. They're 21 and 24. Well, 22 and 25 now. And they're looking at what's going on with the police, and they're seeing black men getting killed. They're seeing, look at the political system, look at the election. My sons, just voted for the first time, and they're they're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling like their voice doesn't matter, or they don't matter. But the really good thing that's come out of the police protests
Mhm.
is young people are stepping up.
Come
And
on,
so
I've seen it and it
they're
is
stepping up. So
amazing.
we, at the same time, we see what happens when we have a collective voice, and when we step up and we use that voice, and we there are some consequences that are coming out of this. And that's really young people that are stepping up and understanding that they can be a part of the change. So I think for my sons, they've realized, okay, things are not great, but I can be a part of the change, and I can do my part. And they're recognizing, they're going to help at the voter polls. They understand that there's power in collective action. So I just think with racism, it's real. We can't deny it, but also understanding that you can do your part in sort of channeling that fear and anxiety and anger into action that's positive and making a difference, in whether it's in your life or your family's life. It's what can I do to be a part of the solution. So there's hope.
There's definitely hope. And
Mm-hmm.
for you to say that, as far as like that breakthrough, and even though we talked about how mental health is becoming more and more speaking out, more people are bringing more awareness about it.
Mm-hmm.
That breakthrough right there is allowing people the platform to feel safe to be able to
Yes.
speak out.
Yes.
And
Or
even
when they speak out, there's some action behind that, because we see too often that
mhm,
there are no consequences, that you can kill a black person and the police officers don't even go to jail. But now we see, okay,
we
if
collective
we be a
voice.
part of this as collective and raise our
Mhm.
voice, we can make a difference. So now you see that there is something that you can do to make a difference. So they see that.
Mm. And it's really big. I want to touch on is you can make a difference where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think that we can only make a difference on a bigger scale or a bigger platform, but you can make a difference whether it's in your household or it's with the neighbor next door or the person you randomly meet. You can make a difference just by doing something. You don't have to do everything.
Yes, and even you can make a difference just by working on yourself.
Come
I
on.
mean, the reality is
That is
that
it right there.
it starts with you. So if I want to be a part of the solution, let me just focus on me. I always go back to that. What can I do to make myself better? Because that's, if each one of us just focus on ourselves
Mhm.
alone, that's going to make a difference. So taking care of myself, being healthy, both in mind and body, relaxing, setting goals, taking it step by step
Mhm.
so that I'm moving to a place that I'm better as a person. Because the thing about that is, if I'm well and healthy and strong, then I can help others. So you really have to start with yourself. I always say that because I always, use the analogy of when you're on a plane and they drop the oxygen mask, and they always tell you to mask yourself first and then you help others. So I think just kind of taking care of yourself first then allows you to be a part of a bigger picture and
Mhm.
contribute to your family, to your relationships, to your job, whatever it is that you want to focus on. Um, just really understand that you can take care of yourself. And especially if it's your mind and your body, get some sleep, exercise, try to eat right, you know, relax, meditate. But then sometimes things happen that, none of that works and you have to go see a doctor.
Mhm.
So if you get to that point, you need to reach out and get help. If you can't talk to a friend or a family member and this is prolonged and you're just not feeling like yourself, go to a medical professional.
Yes.
Yeah,
Take care of you. I think that is
take
a
care of
great
you.
way to kind of like wrap up our conversation today. We hit on some really, really amazing points. I want to say thank you. I'm just gonna kind of do a brief summary because
Okay.
you had so many great nuggets. I'm gonna try to squeeze them all. um, but one of the ones that really stood out to me was creating that safe space, not only for Black men, but for everyone. Everyone should have a
Right.
safe space. And
Yes.
if you don't have that safe space in your family or in your friendship circle, know that there are resources out here.
Absolutely. I would say, because that's a good point, Tay, because a lot of us don't have within our house, especially if
Mhm.
we're in an abusive situation or, domestic violence, or you don't have that safe space in your house.
Mhm.
But, if you're a young person, if there's a teacher, or just if there's someone outside of your house that you can just go to and say, I need help, try to do that. Because a lot of times it's not our family. It's got to be someone outside of our family because our
Mhm.
family is part of the problem, right? So I would just say have the courage to reach out to someone to get the help you need and not to suffer in silence.
Mhm.
So even if you have a smartphone, Google some resources like you said, or contact a, a a community center, just whatever is in your neighborhood, whoever you can touch, reach out. You just have to start there.
Definitely. And also, even if you come to the place where maybe you're not the one that needs to reach out, but you see someone,
Yes,
don't be afraid to be an advocate for somebody else if you can. Not straining yourself, but making sure that you can reach out, say, hey, I got these resources. Hey, here's some things
that's
out
an
here.
excellent point. And I'm going to tell you, because I always go back to that soul food. Soul food. You know how in our family, we know something's not right,
Mm-hmm. You know
but
when
we don't
something's not
say
right.
anything, right?
No, we
Everybody has that
hush
one
hush.
family member. You're like, you know what? And you just kind of say, oh, that's just the way that person is. But that's an
No.
excellent point. If they're beyond you, if you see a friend, a family member in need of help, reach out. Try to be supportive. Say, hey, you know what? Is something going on? Do you want to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Just be a good listener. And so that's really a great point. You can do your part by helping and supporting family and friends that you see something is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ignore it. Yeah, that's a good point.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you for being on Manifest 31
Thank
Vlog
you for having
series.
me.
I
I'm
am,
so proud of you too.
man, tear. I'm just trying. I'm such appreciative of just hearing that because I believe that, like you said, an advocate and speaking
Yep.
out, right? And
Every
I'm from
voice
Detroit.
counts.
I'm from Detroit. I
Yep.
have a son. I've been through my own depression and different things that I've been through. And I know
Hmm.
that me being quiet is not what's going to break
No.
that generational curse. That's not going
Nope.
to bring wealth to not only my family but to other families. And that's the
Right.
main goal of Manifest 31. Is not something that's just for me, but it's something that's going to break through for across our cultures now and across generations right
Yep.
now. So even beyond this, we create a legacy that is continuing to build and grow and know that they can manifest 31 growth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you so much, beautiful. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay.